It's hard to know where to begin when describing this case. It involves extortion, mistaken identity, missing persons and/or faked deaths, potential official mishandling leading to numerous deaths, and an investigative journalist who took on the case in his own free time and then ended up taking his own life over it. And to this date, it remains unsolved, although there are numerous clues to lead us to what potentially happened that fateful day. This case is officially known as the Iwate 17-year-old murder incident. Let's take a look at what happened. On July 1st, 2008, around 4:30 p.m, the body of a 17-year-old girl was found on a riverbed in Kawai village in Iwate Prefecture by a road worker. The girl turned out to be Sato Kozue, and the autopsy revealed that she died of asphyxiation, likely from being strangled, and then her body was pushed off a bridge. They estimated this happened only the day before, on June 30th. The police did some investigating and discovered that Sato had received a call shortly before her death from Obata Katsuyuki, 28 at the time. Interestingly, Obata was already known by police. He visited them not even a month earlier, on June 3rd, to file a criminal complaint with his girlfriend, Sato Kozue. But this Sato wasn't the one who died. It's here that things can get a little confusing, so let's go even further back and start from the real beginning. In May 2007, 1 year earlier, Sato A, Obata's girlfriend, received a message from him. He wanted her to come with him as he visited an older friend of his. This older friend was a carpenter and helped Obata get a job in October of the previous year, but after only a few days of work, Obata fled. He was notoriously unreliable, and this greatly upset his friend, who went out of his way to put in a good word for him and get him work. This stained his reputation, and he didn't like it. The men argued over it for a while, but by next May, the man had finally convinced Obata to come see him personally. Naturally, Obata was afraid, so he invited his girlfriend and younger brother to come with him, just in case. Sato A stayed in the car while Obata and his brother took a bottle of sake to his friend as an apology. Yet his friend was having none of it. His name and reputation were besmirched, and he wanted revenge. According to Obata, the man put a Japanese sword in his mouth and then threatened him, demanding he write an IOU for 1,200,000 yen for the damages he suffered over Obata running off, or he'd take his fingers instead. Naturally, Obata didn't exactly have that type of money just lying around, nor did he want to lose his fingers. But it was only an IOU, so he wrote it down and co-signed it with his girlfriend's name, Sato Kozue, because his old friend insisted on him having a guarantor, and his younger brother refused. Sato A remained in the car outside all this time, and the friend never actually saw her. This would become important later on. According to Sato A, Obata returned to the car with a cut finger and blood on his white shirt. While his friend didn't exactly cut his fingers off, he did apparently rough him up a little, throwing a few punches, which he even admitted to years down the line, although he expressly denied all the other allegations made against him. In any case, Obata had zero intention of paying this money, and again, he went on the run. Whatever happened over the following year was never made public, but it seemed that his friend was looking to cash in the IOU by this point, as Obata went to the police on June 3rd, 2008, to officially file a criminal complaint against him. It turned out that the friend had put up Obata's photo and personal information on a missing persons bulletin board that ended up closing a month later, many believe due to this very case, and was requesting information on his whereabouts. And it seemed that it worked, as it was around this time that Sato A got a call on her mobile from Obata's friend. he had found them. Afraid, both Sato A and Obata went to the police and filed an official complaint for extortion. But for some reason, Obata returned to the police station just a few weeks later and told them he wished to withdraw his complaint. No reason was given as to why. There was a small problem with this though. He was unable to do so unless Sato A was also there, as they filed the complaint together. But Sato A refused. By this point, she had left Obata and returned to her parents' house, citing domestic abuse she could no longer put up with from him. She no longer wanted anything to do with him. Obata's father even went to the police with him and asked if they could withdraw the complaint. But again, the police refused, reportedly saying, "If you ignore this, that man will threaten more people just like you. We'll be making an arrest in 2 or 3 days, so please don't withdraw it." But it appeared that Obata was unable to run from his friend any longer, and on June 28th, he called Sato B. Not his girlfriend, but her best friend, who shared the exact same name. Sato A and Sato B were high school friends, and they met Obata and a friend in a game center on February 2007 when they were hanging out. Obata and Sato A quickly hit it off, and they started dating, while Sato B and the other friend also started dating, and the two couples often hung out together after that. Both Satos left school not long after, and Obata and Sato A basically started living together, although they didn't have a fixed place of residence. They often crashed at friends' houses or slept in their car. It was, as you might expect, not the most stable of relationships. Either way, it seemed that Obata's friend was hoping to make good on that old IOU, and because Sato A, whose name he had put down, refused to show up, Obata instead contacted Sato B, hoping that she would come with him instead. After all, they shared the same name, and his old friend had never seen his girlfriend, so he would have no way of knowing she was actually her. Sato B was at her boyfriend's house at the time, and he confirmed that she got a call from Obata on June 28th. Supposedly, he called her because he wanted to talk about his relationship with Sato A. But while her boyfriend was listening to Sato B talk to Obata, he heard her jokingly say, "I might get killed." It seemed they weren't just talking about Obata's love life, but perhaps a deal that was about to go very, very wrong. Sadly, Sato B's morbid joke turned out to be true, and 3 days later, she was found dead. On that same day, Obata was at a friend's house. He left around 5 p.m. and then returned around 7:30 p.m. His friend said he was acting strange, and then he suddenly hugged him, crying and saying, "I can't stay here anymore." At 9:40 p.m. that same night, Obata drove his car into a telephone pole. A local on his way home from fishing found Obata standing beside his car with smoke coming out of it. His hand was swollen and bleeding, and when the man asked him what happened, Obata reportedly said, "I got into a fight with a woman and hit her. It's over for me. The only thing left for me to do is die." The man, confused, then drove Obata to his parents' house. With his car out of commission from the accident, the next morning, July 2nd, Obata asked a relative if he could drive him to the police station. He never stated what exactly he wanted to go there for, but it's perhaps safe to assume it was something to do with Sato B and his criminal complaint against his old friend. Either way, on the way over, Obata suddenly asked his relative to drop him off at the nearby Unosu Cliff instead. His relative did so, and then left him there. At just before 9:30 a.m. on July 2nd, Sato A and Obata's younger brother received a message from him stating his intention to die, and a male friend also received a phone call from him. "I'm going to jump now. Thank you for everything," Obata said. Shocked, his friend got on his bike and headed over to the cliff, but when he got there, Obata was still alive and talking to someone on the phone, and judging by the content of the conversation, the friend guessed he was talking to the police. Feeling relieved, the friend left. Around this same time, Sato A had also called the police and requested they check in on Obata. She was scared he was going to jump. It was later reported, however, that the police did not act on her request. And that friend who drove to the cliff to find Obata was the last to ever see him alive. Obata disappeared after that, and only his phone, shoes, and driver's license were found at the top of the cliff. The natural assumption here would be that Obata jumped, but the police believed otherwise. Search teams were sent out, and they reportedly searched the waters up to 100 meters from the shore, but they found no sign of Obata's body or any of his personal belongings in the water either. They accused him of faking his death, and then put him on the nationwide wanted list instead. Yes, by this point, it seemed the police had pinned Obata as the #1 suspect in Sato B's death, and there was a 1 million yen bounty on his head for murder and abandoning a corpse. This number would continue to rise over the years. And it's here that things get even more confusing. In September that same year, just 2 months after Sato B's death and Obata's disappearance, freelance journalist and former police detective Kuroki Aoki appeared on a TBS program about unsolved cases. Kuroki was given Obata's case to investigate, and while doing so, he noticed several oddities and things that simply didn't add up. Even after the program ended, he continued investigating the case in his own time to get to the bottom of matters. It was a decision that would end with him taking his own life 2 years later. It was thanks to Kuroki's detective work that several facts regarding this case later came to light, and the image they painted seemed to point towards police incompetency muddying this terrible case. As we said earlier, when Sato A received the message from Obata that he was going to jump, she informed the police and asked them to check on him. According to Kuroki's investigation, they did no such thing. Local residents also reported they never saw police searching the area at the time. Obata's father also asked police to use police dogs to help find his son, to which they reportedly said, "Police dogs cost hundreds of thousands of yen. They're expensive. Do you have enough money to pay for it?" Taking into consideration that the police considered Obata to be their #1 suspect in Sato B's death, Kuroki found it incredibly strange that they didn't seem at all bothered about finding him. More confusion arose on July 2nd, the day after Sato B's body was found, when police called Sato A's home regarding the criminal complaint she had filed with Obata the previous month. Wait, she's not dead? She's alive? They reportedly said over the phone, indicating that police at the time actually had no idea that Sato A and Sato B were 2 different people, and they were treating them as the same person. During his investigations, Kuroki also found that the police were now denying that they had even received a criminal complaint to begin with. He pointed out that if the police had properly investigated the complaint, as they were supposed to do, then it was unlikely that Sato B would have died. This was, of course, a bad look for police, so Kuroki felt they may have tried to hide the complaint's existence to save face. After all, it was their lack of police work that had potentially led to a person dying. But that wasn't all. Kuroki's investigation also dug up other facts, like, for example, Obata having an alibi for the day Sato B died. He reportedly spent the night of June 29th at his younger brother's house, and then June 30th and July 1st at a friend's house. Both of these residences were located roughly 100 kilometers, or an approximately 2-hour drive one way, from where Sato B was killed. In Kuroki's view, this made it near impossible for Obata to have been the one to commit the deed, especially as nobody with him reported him being gone for roughly 4 or 5 hours either day, the amount of time it would have taken for him to travel there, kill Sato B, and then return. And when Obata's friend told the police of his whereabouts during that time, they reportedly said, "The media will likely be here soon. Don't tell them anything about an alibi." Furthermore, as mentioned earlier, Obata had a serious hand injury at this time. On June 29th, Obata sent a friend a photo of his hand, which was badly injured. He visited his younger brother that same day, and he took him to the hospital, which was the night he spent there. Medical reports stated that he had injured his ring and little fingers on his right hand, and he had no grip strength. He couldn't even hold chopsticks to eat dinner that night. When the doctor asked Obata what happened, he reportedly said that he punched a wall, but the doctor claimed the injury looked more like he'd been stabbed with a knife numerous times. In any case, with zero grip strength and such a serious injury, Kuroki found it highly unlikely that he would have had the strength necessary to strangle Sato B to death at the time she was reportedly killed. As for Obata's disappearance, Kuroki suggested it was incredibly unlikely that he simply ran away. He left his meager belongings at the top of the cliff, including his shoes. It was 3 kilometers to the nearest road, over terrain that was far too treacherous to travel barefoot. And, supposing he succeeded in reaching the road, there was no public transport, so he would have to steal a car or hitch a ride. There were no eyewitness reports of anyone walking down the road that day, nor reports of cars stolen. If anything, Kuroki theorized that Obata was no doubt already dead, but not necessarily from jumping. Rather, someone he called that day came and picked him up, took him away, and, because of Sato B's murder, he was killed as well to wrap matters up. It was also Kuroki who uncovered the existence of 2 Sato Kozues, which, up until that point, was not public knowledge. He came forward with Sato A in a press conference in May 2009. This woman's name is Sato Kozue, meaning she shares the same family and personal name as the Sato Kozue that police claim was killed by Obata Katsuyuki. And it was at this press conference that Sato A herself explained why she thought her best friend with the same name was killed. "I think she was killed as a substitute for me." Sato B explained much of the case as we know it now. She also told of how she received a phone call from Obata the same day Sato B disappeared. He wanted her to come with him to withdraw the criminal complaint they had filed, but she was fed up with his abuse and refused. And so, that same day, he called Sato B instead, and she was never seen again. Sato A feared that Obata had taken or sent her somewhere in her stead, and that led to her friend dying instead of her. Yet, even after Sato B's believed time of death, Obata continued calling the police and asking them to withdraw the criminal complaint. This was another point that Kuroki found strange, because if Obata was indeed the person who killed Sato B, as police were claiming, then why would he continue to pester them after he had supposedly committed such a horrific crime? They even uncovered messages on a friend's phone from Obata after June 30th, where he spoke about the police refusing to withdraw his complaint. And it wasn't until Sato B's body was discovered on July 1st that suddenly Obata seemed to break down in tears and then disappeared himself. Meaning it was possible that Obata didn't even know she was dead until her body was found, and therefore he wasn't there when it happened. It was possible that he met with his friend, or someone connected to his friend, with Sato B, and both left alive, went their separate ways, and then Sato B was attacked when alone. Or it was possible that Sato B was sent somewhere alone at Obata's request, and he had no idea what happened to her. Either way, there were too many possibilities for what might have happened over those few days, but the evidence Kuroki dug up suggested that Obata couldn't have directly been the one who killed Sato B, like police claimed. And their fumbling of the search for him after the fact, and the entire criminal complaint fiasco, were all pointing to, at the very least, incredibly poor police work for such a serious case that potentially got a girl killed. But that still wasn't the end. At the time Obata was put on the nationwide wanted list, there were 1,100 names, of which only 8 had a bounty. Bounties are incredibly rare, and generally only used when a case was about to reach its statute of limitations, or extreme cases, where a suspect was expected to receive the death penalty upon being caught. It was also a general rule that cases not receive a bounty until at least 6 months had passed, but in Obata's case, only 3 months had passed when they put a bounty on his head. After Obata's disappearance, police stopped looking into his extortion case, which Kuroki also found strange. When he asked them why, they claimed that, with no victim, in this case Obata, there was no point, as it couldn't be taken to trial. Yet, the extortion case involved a Japanese sword, which was a violation of the Firearms Act, and this didn't need Obata to be physically present for. Yet, not even a search was carried out, and Obata's old friend, the one who supposedly threatened him with a sword, the one who put his name and personal information up on public wanted lists, the one who was searching so hard for him and Sato, and the one Obata feared so much, still remains free to this day, while Sato B and Obata are either dead or haven't been seen since. He has even done interviews where he admitted to physically assaulting Obata that day he came to his house, but claimed that everything else said about him was false. The case caught a brief second wind after Kuroki's press conference in May 2009, but then petered out almost right away. Kuroki found himself met by brick walls wherever he went, and no amount of legwork, public briefings, petitions, or meetings with government officials got him anywhere. In April 2010, he visited the Iwate prefectural government with over half of the Tanohata village's signatures on hand, the location the incident took place, and asked for a third-party committee to be formed to investigate the case. They were refused, and Kuroki was further shocked and saddened by the general media's lack of reporting on the case. On June 30th that same year, Obata's father filed a lawsuit against the police, claiming that his son had been declared a criminal without proof, and they were damaging the family name. He pointed out that his son had an alibi for the time of Sato B's death, and the police had provided no evidence for why they were sure he was the killer. As such, he wanted damages and his son taken off the wanted list, but the court ruled against him and claimed that it was a reasonable method for obtaining information. And on the contrary, on November 1st that same year, they upped Obata's bounty from 1 million to 3 million yen. This outraged Kuroki, who reportedly said, "How can they use 3 million yen of the taxpayers' money for something they haven't properly investigated?" Sadly, the following day, Kuroki was found dead in his car. His wife had noted that the case had been weighing on him more and more, and a note was found detailing his reasons, which also pointed out the case and how he hoped to now meet Sato Kozue and find out the truth for himself. For 2 years and 2 months, Kuroki had entirely funded his investigations with his own money. He was in a bad spot financially and was even considering selling his family's house. He owed numerous acquaintances quite a large sum of money, and the lack of movement from either the police or the media regarding the case had greatly depressed him. It's perhaps important to remember that Kuroki himself was a former police officer with 23 years of service behind him and numerous awards as well. He retired at 41 to become a freelance journalist because he was uncomfortable with injustices and poor conduct within the police department. Those same issues he seemed to be having with the Obata case. And with Kuroki's death, the case seemingly stalled. To this day, it remains unsolved, and Obata's whereabouts remain officially unknown. Considering that a decade and a half has passed since this case of likely mistaken identity took place, and no real changes or progress have been made since then, it's likely that this case will continue to remain unsolved. But it was thanks to the hard work of one former police officer turned journalist that most of the public are even aware of the case, although it sadly didn't result in it being solved. There are simply too many unknowns, too many strange questions without answers, and now, perhaps, too much time has also passed. But what do you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.